and maybe it's in the name of the group so people can understand. And then maybe there's a conversation when that we talk about how you can use your voice and the links and whatnot. What are you doing, Rich?
What?
I'm working right now. I'm sorry. My nephew came in.
Hey.
I'll be out in a minute, hon.
I think that is, Sonia, so I think that is a really good idea. That is, in my mind, Community Relations Committee, subcommittee would be a committee to do just that, as well as having an avenue for the community members to file complaints, if you will, outside of the traditional complaint system, because typically, if this is just what happens sometimes, not all the time, but if someone files a complaint, say the police department, it's ignored, or it's viewed as though it's ignored, therefore it's not heard, right? So I think this Community Relations Committee would be a great place for both what Major said, to add that, as well as going out to the community and offering an avenue for people to speak with us and get their voice.
Definitely. Captain McKinney was there his first day as captain, voiced that he wants to work with all the entities that were there, talked about wanting the police cams. So again, I think it's part of our job to help market what's already happening and then show our city kind of the future of where we're going so everybody becomes involved. I think it's complimentary. Again, I think it makes sense as well. And I really would like to see that Troy embraces the fact that this is a public crisis as well. I mean, I thought that was brilliant that Piqua did that.
Sue,
Sure.
may I ask, how difficult is it to get a city ordinance passed, one that we don't have on the books today?
Any legislation any request for legislation has to go to the council president. Right now, the council president signs to a council committee. That council committee reviews it and makes a recommendation to the entire council. And then, and I'm just saying, any legislation, then it goes before council to vote.
Who's our president?
Mr. Lutz, Phil Lutz. You might remember Ms. Philly Lutz.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Is that L-U-T-Z?
Yes.
Okay.
It might be easier. Sue, in your opinion, you're probably more versed on what Piqua has decided is a public crisis. I think I'm getting the wording wrong, but is that a first step that might be quicker as we work on the ordinance change?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to, you said what Piqua did? I mean, I heard that, I read it in the paper.
So according to, and it was the mayor, Chris Lee, that said that and I'm probably going to mess this up, but racism is a public crisis.
Okay. And I assume that, again, they're a commission, so I don't know what their internal structure is, but their commission would have had to probably approve that if it became.
It has to go through the same channels.
Yeah.
It has to go
Similar
through the same channels.
channels, it's just a different name.
It has not been approved in Piqua.
It
It
has-
has not been approved.
Okay.
Just before them, okay.
They have issued it to be approved. It was in the paper, right?
I think she's frozen.
No, she's not. She's,
Okay, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I heard it at the event on Saturday. The mayor said it himself, so I assumed it was something official. The mayor of Piqua.
probably a whip there.
Yeah, I don't know, Sonia. I heard that they were looking at something. I haven't kept up on top of that in the last few days to know.
Okay,
Maybe we can certainly ask.
definitely. Yeah,
See what it says, but I mean, then we still have to go through our process.
gotcha. Okay.
Does that help answer your question? I want to make sure I answer your
We just
question.
didn't know if one was easier, or if we could do them in conjunction, or,
I think they're both the same.
oh,
I mean, I think that both, I think what you're saying and what I'm saying is the same thing.
okay.
I mean, I think we're certainly in a crisis, right? And so that's why we're all here. But to make it something that's enforceable for the citizens, for the businesses, for the people of Troy, I believe that it needs to be a city ordinance, which makes it illegal to discriminate against someone because of their race, because of their gender, because all
Gotcha.
those things under the reign,
Okay.
right? So that would give people protections, against that.
Okay. I think they deemed it a public health crisis, and you're saying it's illegal.
Okay.
So if they're one and the same, that's fine with me. I just didn't know if they were two different things.
Well, I think that I'm sorry.
It did.
It
I'm
did.
looking at it
Okay.
now. The
Yeah.
city commission voted to approve a resolution declaring racism a public health crisis in the city of Piqua.
Okay, that's, they did a resolution.
Resolution,
Okay,
yeah.
yes.
Different than
Right. I mean, those things, those are determined by the law director.
Okay.
I mean, they're determined on, every city uses ordinances or resolutions. The law director determines what's appropriate.
Okay. Well, maybe if we can get the law director to see that might be something quicker that we start off with or catch up with.
So,
I would suggest we'll get a formal copy of what Piqua has. Is that,
Yeah.
Yes.
is- okay.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
can you read some of the
Research
bullet
behind it.
points that they have in there, if you don't mind?
Sure. I'll just read it. It's a quick read.
Okay.
According to Mayor Chris Lee, the declaration is a starting point to examine the issue of racism and the importance of diversity and acceptance. This resolution is not saying that there is a problem with racism in Piqua. This is her quote, or his quote. We're not saying that. We're saying that there is a problem with racism, period, throughout our country. As a starting point, we're using this resolution to help us focus and form a committee, the diversity committee. Lee reiterated that the resolution should not be viewed as a declaration that Piqua is a racist city, but more so as an acknowledgement that racism does exist. This resolution will help the city of Piqua to have a larger discussion about racism in America and how it affects the community.
Pretty much what we-
I think
Yeah.
that's what this
That's
is.
what we're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But-
I don't think we need to do the same thing they're doing.
Yeah, I like us to see it pass as a city ordinance because
Yeah.
that will make it legal.
Legal.
It will make it illegal to
Yeah.
do those things. And I think that's what we all need. We need laws to be changed so that if somebody does something, they pay a price for it. So they're
Yeah.
less apt to do it, makes our city a safer city. So, I mean, we can put everything under the bubble in it, but I think until we have a law in place,
Yeah.
it's all talk. Right?
I see what
So-
you're saying. They're trying to get to where we're at by that movement. Okay. That
Right.
makes sense. I agree with you, Marvin. That
I-
makes sense.
I agree with what you're saying. I've not seen any laws that have been put in place to hold people to a moral code
Right.
really work. I mean, the fear of me being punished doesn't change my moral code.
Yeah.
And that's the only,
That's true.
that's my only struggle with that. I understand. So the punish reward system, when it comes to trying to change people's behavior,
Doesn't always work.
doesn't work as well as what Loretta said earlier is storytelling and hearing people's stories. Everything's going to have a bridge to cross. The storytelling is how do you get people,
From here to here.
yeah, well, to even in the same room to listen to the story.
Right.
And again, you'll get a lot of the people that are on the journey that will join that, but it's the people out here on the fringes that haven't joined the journey yet. That will be the biggest struggle regardless of how we go. So I'm not
Yeah.
totally against what
No.
you're saying. I'm just saying that might be a piece, but it's not, I've not seen that be an effective piece. When you're, it's like abortion. You can't, that's a hard issue
Yeah.
versus, you can't legislate morality. I guess that's what I'm saying.
So you're saying, I mean, I agree because I'll be honest. So when they had the protest, I was still healing a little bit, so I didn't go down. But I watched it. And I know that there's racism. I'm not stupid. My wife is white, so trust me, I know. I've dealt with it plenty of times. But what I did notice is to me, I feel like with what's going on in the world, a lot of people now are okay with expressing it. Like when they protested, I was watching it live. Then comments on there let me know that I always have my head on a swivel.
Yeah.
Make sure you keep it that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that's going on has, taught me everybody ain't your friend, which I've known that, but it made it more clear. So I see what you're saying, because we can do that, have people come, but it's really the people who aren't willing to come that they're the ones that need it the most.
And I think that's where you have to engage law enforcement. I think that's where you have to engage legal. I think that we have a ton of people that are just good people, and they're not causing the problem. They're trying to understand, they're trying to help. And then you have people that are just learning, and it's a new experience. And then you have people that were just raised a certain way that oppose what we're trying to accomplish. And I firmly feel that, and this is speaking to things I heard as I was being raised. So my parents were born in Alabama, but they moved up to Cleveland. So my grandfather used to drive my family down to Alabama. And as he's driving his family down to Alabama, my mother, my uncle, my grandmother had to they had to relieve themselves in the woods somewhere, because the gas stations would take their money, but they would not allow them to use the restroom. So until we had the civil rights movement, which changed that, right? That went on. And those were a lot of good Christians that said, I go to church on Sunday, I pay my tithes, I'm a good person, I just don't want you in my establishment, you can't use my bathroom. I think that currently today, we're still seeing that. It's evident you have lots of African Americans that are moving out of America to other countries. They just can't take it. They see it so often, you can't turn it off because you can't change your skin color. And unless people are held accountable, held responsible for their actions, it won't change. We'll be saying the same thing 20 years from now, and we'll, just like 20 years back, it was a different story. And so I firmly believe that it is a waste of our time. I firmly believe it is a waste of our time to sing Kumbaya and hold hands and pray unless it's accompanied with the hand of the law.
I agree.
Like I firmly believe that from things that I've heard, things that I've seen, it has to be a partnership with legal, law enforcement, city, and it has to be changing. And I'm not saying that Troy has any issues. I think Troy's a wonderful, beautiful city. I've never been treated illy by a police officer. I've never been treated illy by anyone in this city. But I don't want our future kids, the kids that will soon be our age, right? We don't want them to have to fight an unnecessary battle. And I think the only way to ensure that it's enforced, that everybody's on the same page, is that we write it in law and we put it in the newspaper and say, here's a new ordinance by Troy.
I agree with that, because right now there's no boundaries. It's so blurred. I mean, we have men driving around in trucks with flags that are Confederate or American and aggressive. And it's not even that they're driving with flags. They're screaming out their windows racial slurs. And when we complain, we're told, oh, well, freedom of speech, or You know, yeah, they're jerks. There's always going to be jerks, but I agree with Marvin. Like, there's got to be some type of boundary. Monday turned into Thursday, meaning the protest into the call to action because of those social media responses. Jordan, they broke my heart as well. We had to redeem ourselves. They're the same kids, same issues, same discussions, just a little cleaned up, less four-letter words, but the same conversations. So I do agree with that, even if it's something as simple as cleaning up the media. I mean, Troy Daily News, come on, you have to be better than that. To allow hate to just sit on Facebook to the point where the police and the city have to say, hey, this is not acceptable, is ridiculous. I mean, there has to be some level of decency and respect so people will feel comfortable enough to even want to be here. If the goal is to build capacity for diversity, there's no way if you're going to Google Troy or get on one of our websites and see hate comments, you're never going to want to be here. You're never going to want to be a teacher here. You're not going to want to advocate and be a police officer here. So I do agree with that. And even if we start with, again, what's relevant today, social media, something's got to be done. And we got to help the police as well. You know, it's hard to catch somebody on social media who's sending hate messages, but if we can help with some type of law or anything to help them, then I'm all for it, because it really does have to stop. Ironically, the thing that proved racism exists was the social media outlets. I mean, those kids just had something to say and it turned into way more. So I definitely agree with that.
So I wanted to, I'm sorry to belabor this, but I wanted to give an example of why what Major is saying is is really important, actually. This past weekend, my daughter's boyfriend, he works at Menards in Tip City, and Menards have a requirement that you cannot come into the store except with a face mask. Well, a gentleman with a guy, he's not a gentleman, a guy with his wife and a 5-year-old child came into the store without the mask. And my daughter's boyfriend was doing his job, and he said, sir, the store policy is that you must come in the store with a mask. And, you know, that he's just enforcing what the store requires. The guy comes back with the, you explicitive N-word junk guy, whatever. You don't tell me what to do, da, da, da. The wife and the little kid commence to laughing because they think it's funny because they are humiliating him in front of everybody in the store. So from that, of course, he was very upset or whatever, but so the coworkers around him contacted the manager, the general manager, and then another elderly lady came to him and apologized for the guy, which they should not be apologizing for that guy. The guy should be apologizing for himself. In the end, Menards called the police and put out a trespassing order and made a requirement that this guy cannot no longer come into the Menards store based upon his racial views. Well, his actions, and not his views, but his actions towards someone else. And so it does, sometimes it's gonna hurt him because he's gonna go to the store, but he will be trespassing if he goes back. But that's just one store. That is one place, but that's just.
But sometimes it just takes one.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so maybe we look at, because John, I understand where you're coming from, right? Like crime and punishment, right? I can't banter you in being a good person. So maybe we look at what is the punishment? Can't we be unique? We know education, relationship building is the key. So maybe, you know, we don't have a Menards to trespass from, but maybe we are educating. Maybe you are sentenced to a diversity class and you have to educate yourself on multicultural things. Sinclair has, I think it's 4 to 5 classes of diversity that we could say, hey, you need to take one of or 2 of 5 of the classes or something to prove. So maybe it's the way the punishment is.
make them work at Lincoln Center,
Right.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
make them come to a black church every week for 4 weeks.
That's too easy.
Yeah, well,
But I like that.
not really,
No.
not really, especially if you're in there for 12.
Church starts at 9 o'clock, when I get out there.
11:30.
Exactly.
All
Maybe we make them tell their story because we all.
I agree.
times
I hear what
attend.
you're saying. I hear what, and it doesn't, usually the best answers aren't either or. So I like the both and, that there's some bite here,
Yeah.
but if there's, and again, it might just, if there's an option of education, so it's not again punishment, but it's,
Definitely. Yeah, because we can't go advocate to the court to prorate fines and, to get off people's back and then send them a new demographic of people that we're going to have to ultimately do
Demographic of people.
the same thing
that
for. So, yeah, I
when-
think we
when-
think out of the box.
What?
I'm sorry. Sorry. She can't see me, so I was sorry.
No, you're fine.
Sorry. I think my point is that I think at the end of the day, we have to hold people accountable. If you don't hold people accountable, then it's the Wild Wild West. And that's not Troy. Troy wants to be a very good city. We are a very good city. I think this allows us to continue that. There has to be some financial, there has to be some community service, or a mix of two, depending on how bad it is. When you look at how a minority group feels when they're being attacked, it is every bit a hate crime.
Yeah.
By definition, it is a hate crime if you really look at the intent and what's happening. And that's how people feel, which is why African Americans, minorities, immigrants, they're dealing with so much trauma. It is amazing. And just trying to be a normal person seeing all this stuff is it is the most disturbing thing anyone would ever want to look at. It is so disturbing. So there has to be education, there has to be enforcement, there has to be restitution. People have to learn this is not acceptable. It's 2020. It's not acceptable. We cannot.
Marvin, if we have an opportunity to think outside of the box, you hit the nail on the head. I've had so many hate crimes in my life, but the thing I didn't do for myself was heal myself.
Right.
So maybe there's talk of therapy available for the victim. Maybe we look at people as victims. I've been a victim in a lot of situations and been treated as a criminal. And there's a complete difference, right? When you're talking about hate crimes, if we're going to acknowledge where we're really at, it's a two-way healing. And so we can't just tunnel vision to the person that's hurting or that's being the persecutor, but also the victim. How can we help that person restore? Do we come around them? Is it a card from the city, like something that puts a piece back into you, right? Because it's holes that are left.
That lets you know that we are good people. There are still
Yeah.
good people here. Yes.
Definitely.
So I'll I guess I should make a motion to create a document that we can put before our council that would give us a city ordinance that would restrict and prohibit that type of action. I'll be happy to write it.
Right now,
I'm sorry.
do we have any ordinance for hate crime?
I haven't seen anything in our city ordinance unless
Again,
I missed it.
Without going through and looking at everything. And a lot of our ordinances then fall back to state law that have to be enforced. So without going through and looking at it, I can't tell you everything that's there. That would be for a law director to look at. But also just to mention that in enacting legislation, the law director has to say, this is legal legislation.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's going to be a review, whatever it is, it has to go through that kind of process.
So I think
And
we
again,
Have the law director come.
Can he come to the meetings?
Yeah, it sounds like we might. Or Marvin, if you have time to get with him.
try to find out what what you're trying to say, what the wording entails, so he can start looking at it.
So
I
we need to
will
look at
write
state
up
law.
something.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll write a document up. I'll send it out to everybody and it'll be a first draft. And I would love to hear your thoughts on a revision. I'll have that done. What's today? Wednesday? I'll have it done by Monday.
Okay,
So I'll do that by Monday.
you got time.
I have no time, but I'll do it.
Maybe if we can think about just as community members, what in the situations would have helped us heal? You know, God, I'm so sorry. A letter from the mayor signed by city council as well, acknowledging that, no, you matter. We care. You are a choice. Would that heal or would that incite? Like, what would be valid? Would we want to go to therapy or would we go, we've been doing it? You know what I mean? Like, let's just think about relevant things that would help people heal.
I think getting an ordinance would help. That would help me. That would help me.
I do too, honestly. Like, yeah. If I could know that what you're doing to me is wrong and yeah.
Number one, we had Mr. Beamish who was there. How long was Mr. Beamish?
16 years.
16
3
years.
times.
So what, we're gonna have him write one? And then we'll go back 50 years when I was in school. We're gonna have them to write one? Nah, that would make me mad.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, that's why we're asking, because
Yeah.
we don't want to make it worse. We want to make it better. Yeah.
That would make me mad.
Well, and I also don't think that the mayor can send, this is just me and my assumption, but it might be difficult for her to send a letter
On behalf of all
on
the cities,
behalf
all the,
and apologizing for something that she doesn't know intimately.
Anything about
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
That's true. I was trying to do education both ways.
yeah.
but I like the idea of the ordinance, but also adding the diversity classes, community service, and victim therapy attached to it
Yeah.
as a recourse, if you will.
Perhaps is the fine a restitution? Maybe the fine goes to the victim as restitution. I don't know. Again, I don't have an answer. Maybe it goes to the
That's right.
Underground Railroad or,
Yeah.
Oh,
the money is
that is
paid
true.
off.
You can't
Yeah.
do that.
Don't
Well,
like
that's
it.
why I said diversity classes.
Yeah,
It's just
that
like if
would-
you caught drinking, you gotta go to sobriety or drinking
Yeah,
classes or
diversion
whatever
classes.
for being caught drinking. Well, you've been caught being racist, so you go to classes.
The only issue with that though is just some of them might go just because they have to go.
Exactly. And not
Maybe
because
one
they wanna
time-
learn something.
It's the same with an alcoholic or a person that drinks.
Right.
They're gonna go just because, oh, I gotta go to this class. But maybe that one time they go to that class to get something out of it. Not everyone will change.
Right.
No,
It
that's
only
true.
takes one.
And some
True.
are better than none.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, the time, part of the punishment, give enough time to go to that class.
Right, yes.
I mean, that's,
I agree.
and again, we can't make them change, we can't make them listen.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's a character
But-
issue at the end of the day.
But maybe that's the right time, who knows?
Sure. That's why I said some progress is better than none.
So did we decide on our initiatives? I know.
No, we need to get back to that. Yeah,
Okay.
but
I was
I
like,
think
what
that's
time do
one
we
of
have?
them.
Do we have it for an hour?
Yes.
Okay.
Monday the 17th.
Is it beneficial to list or to compile a list of all the groups as well within our town? Or do you have it?
I'm sorry, a list of what again? Sorry.
And so as per the definition of our thing, to list who these fraternal leaders education community, is it beneficial to have a list?
Yes, it is.
So maybe that's something we could be compiling as well.
Chamber used to have lists, and I can't say that they do now, but they used to have listings that would be like fraternal organizations. Is that what you're meaning, Sonia?
Yeah, just a list of,
There
all the
might be
people, the religious groups, the fraternal.
that I don't know because they're not maintained by the city. But, I mean, we could ask them what they maintain on your
Yeah.
behalf.
I think that would be a great idea. Thank you, Sue.
Yeah, going from the statement again, what this group is to do is to enlist cooperation to combat misunderstanding. I think you could really narrow it down to that. Enlist cooperation from different groups. So there is that combat misunderstanding. There's that educational type component for community storytelling or whatever.
So it would seem that we need to do some community outreach. So we need to identify who these people are, who these groups are. We need to look at who the leadership is, and we need to send an email or give them a letter that states what we're doing and how we would like to work with them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I think that's how we start the conversation. If anyone has any other ideas, I'm open to it. But thank you. All right. So would anyone like to contact the Chamber of Commerce to look for these groups: racial, religious, ethnic, educational, community, civic, labor, fraternal? I don't know what a benevolent group is.
I can do that.
It's like any of the benevolent,
Like church groups?
I'm trying to think what is one of the organizations?
Rotary.
Like moves around
Rotary
something
fall
that
under
word
that.
benevolent in the
Okay.
name. So I think it's just kind of a eternal benevolent,
Okay.
like it'd be like charitable, because a lot of them use their money to help the community.
Gotcha.
Are you taking on that task to identify all the groups?
I can if you
Thank you,
like.
sir.
Yes.
That's awesome.
There's also the Miami County Human Services Director.
Okay.
Sonia, are you familiar with the Miami County Human Services Directory?
I have a copy of
Did
that.
she say Miami County Community Service?
Human
Yeah.
service.
Mm-hmm.
That booklet, that it's got like agencies in it. It's Miami County puts it out of, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
Mr. Keller?
I have a copy, yeah.
Okay, because
And I think the current ones are out. I just haven't picked mine
yeah,
up yet.
that's got a lot of it in there.
Oh,
Thank
the
you.
I appreciate it.
resource book. Sorry, I can barely hear Sue.
It's the community service directory put out by some agency of the county that lists most of the organizations, like Fish and all that type
Oh
of.
yeah, it's the blue bound community resource book. We have them at Partners in Hope. You're more than welcome to borrow it if you need it.
And that's got a lot of information in it.
Yeah.
Are there some other organizations that are not included in that book that you have?
Yeah.
Do you have a list of additional organizations that are not included in
I
that?
do, like in our Rolodex and whatnot. So I can get with John and make sure that he, whatever. And then also, Sue, do we have the 211 now in our county?
No, that's not yet been established.
Okay. That'll just be another place when it comes that we'll want to have our information at.
Sonia, there are some other new groups that have just come up since we started this one. How many of those are there?
Are you referring to like the offshoot, the private meeting groups that are talking?
Right.
So I'm aware of about 4.
Okay, and
Groups.
you are on how many of those?
I was on 2 of those groups. 2 of the groups are traditional. So Troy Freedom Chasers, we have MLK, and then we have I'm going to call it the Saddlers group because it doesn't have a name. That's a private group. And then there's one more. I have to track down the name of that group. So I have emails I can get to John.
Okay, I think it would be good to include them too.
Definitely, I agree.
They're predominantly Black groups, aren't they?
Yes,
And
yes,
most
they are.
young people. A lot of them are younger people. Also.
Actually, the Detroit Freedom Chasers group is the youngest, but the other groups were actually teachers and other leaders in the community that are having private talks.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Again, I think it's beneficial to get them all to HRC with their voices.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for remembering that.
Yeah.
So at our meeting on last week, we talked about reaching out to someone from the Hispanic community. So where are we with that?
I don't know anyone.
I'd like to nominate Ruby. I just need to email Salome.
Solomon, have you gotten one from Mrs. What is her name? She comes to our meetings. She's with not Partners in Home.
Is it Stephanie?
Oh, you mean,
Stephanie,
Stephanie Johnson?
no.
Oh, Caroline Nicely had.
No,
you're talking about Kathy Roder.
no.
No, okay, not the names.
Just better get it out.
Platt.
Melissa,
Melissa
From
Platt.
the Detroit Foundation.
I have not received any names.
Okay, I'll give her a call because she mentioned someone that she thought would be very. So I'll have her.
Ruby has been in the community and her kids went to Troy High School. I believe she's from Mexico or Texas, and she has worked professionally from the abuse shelter to child support advocate for JFS. So she's well-versed, and Addie Ratcliffe as well has worked with the shelter and is translated in our community for a number of years. So those two just came to mind because of their work within our community.
Okay. Well, maybe send that to her so she'll have those two names, and then
Yes,
I will
ma'am,
get
I will.
this evening and have her to call too with the ladies.
Okay, and then I will reach out and ask if they would like to be in the commission.
Okay.
Definitely.
Good question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just
No, yeah.
So I'm still stuck on the initiatives because I'm thinking of initiatives because we are going to identify the groups, right? That's one thing, but out of that, what do we want to accomplish, right? What is the initiative what is the goal that we're going to do once we identify those groups?
I think we need to create a letter that explains to the group who we are, why we're contacting them, why they should listen. And then I think we just want to start that type of engagement. And then based on the feedback that we get back, we can have them into our meetings. We could have two groups or just one group. I know in these sub meetings, we don't have a lot of time, but maybe we could, I don't know. I think if we have an hour and a half in these meetings, we could squeeze in maybe two groups. And we could keep it to maybe 25 minutes each. And then, I mean, if that's okay, I think that's a good way to kind of get it going, get more people.
Yeah, I know what I hear a lot of groups within Troy, the contention that they don't know how to partner. Like, why won't the other agencies or entities partner? So maybe if we can help them be more intentional in partnering to make a stronger community, if there's some verbiage with that, because I know that's always been a big deal, especially with our churches, just trying to figure out how to partner with the church around the corner or down the street, or, different economic classes or diversity, race. How do we just be a community?
So I think when we come up with that list, I think we should just maybe split the list up, and then we all either send emails ourselves or try to contact them. I think there's going to be a lot of work to pull that off, but or however you guys think to do it, I'm very open to that.
So that's one. And then the second one was you're going to work on the hate crime
Yes.
letter, okay. And then the third one was to, sorry,
Yeah, I don't want to call it hate crime. 'Cause I don't want to beat me up.
Just write down,
Eight.
just write down new ordinance, work on
Yes.
new ordinance.
Is maybe to help recreate or institute, like, for example, if the council of churches, if the churches want it back, do we help them, or is that too much?
I'm sorry. I didn't-
What? I
say
didn't
that
get
again.
We didn't hear
We
you.
didn't understand that.
Sorry, it's okay. So my question is, like, do we identify gap services within the community that needs groups? So for
Yes.
example, like Council of Churches was dismantled, but if you talk to the churches individually, they want it and need it back, some of them. So do we then say we identify gap services to help the teams come back together in places that would address issues? Or we just want to listen? Like, I don't want to make it harder, you know what I mean? But if that is something that is a need that we find out, are we going to support that and help? Does there need to be a group for, I don't know, mothers of autism who are, you know what I mean? Like, if those things start to pop up and people, because I've heard that in the community, are we going to market ourselves as being that voice, or sitting and trying to figure out who do we connect them, what group to help build
Yes.
capacity to cover gaps?
We're
think that's
community
beautiful.
relations.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
are community relations,
Okay.
yeah.
And
Sometimes
then I think to take
Hear
that
it and make
further,
sure that-
let me get in. I also think to take that further, I think that our police officer, I'm sorry. I think that our police officers should also understand that same thought process, because they are going to interact with that stuff every single day.
Yeah.
So they understand how to drive families into these different nonprofits / whatever group it is. I think that's going to strengthen our community as well. So
agree.
I think that's
agree.
a wonderful idea.
Just wanted to make sure. Sorry, I'm having issues hearing, so I think that I know what I'm talking about sometimes, but then I can't hear, so I'm not sure.
I would like to work up something somewhere where we can get the kids to interact with the police. We tried it a couple times on, what was that, Night Out?
National Night Out.
National Night Out. And they came, can you hear me, Sonia?
Yes, National Night Out, you're right.
Now, they came and they literally stood and talked to each other and did not interact with the kids. When we went over and asked them, could they please interact with the kids?
Mhm.
They went in their car and got little stickers and walked around and pinned them on them. We see a picture in the paper the next day with them. They stayed all of maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe. And
Yeah.
we saw a picture the next day talking about that there were 5 of them, 4 or 5. How many were there? Do you remember? 4 or 5 different ones. We were the only black area. They were there for an hour each.
Yeah, they
And
changed.
they were interacting and playing games. We had lots of games and stuff, and there was no interaction. The kids are already afraid of them.
Yeah,
The kids are afraid of police. And then after they see all this on TV, it's even got worse.
Right.
right.
So we need to have them go over to Lincoln Center every now and then, talk to the kids. If you see them out at the park, not to scare them or whatever, go and say, hey, you guys having a game? I don't know what they are or are not allowed to do.
Yeah.
Being I call them the traveling policemen. I
Mhm.
know they make a lot of runs in the black area. So if they have that much time to do that, surely they have 5 minutes they can stop and talk, get to learn the kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah, we do that in Garden Manor, and we're really diligent about, like, I will get the bikes that are stolen actually are housed at J&D, and I'll pull them up. And when the officers come, the officers get buckets, and they're the raffle. So the kids have to have community with the cop if they want to win a bike. And so I've been doing things intentional because it's both sides. I think they both
Yeah,
are.
I agree. That's why I said they need to connect.
Exactly.
I'm not afraid of them.
Yeah, and I think
And then they'll know the kids. They'll know the kids.
you're right. And they need more time. I mean, they changed the structure from one huge community event to like, we have to go to 10 spots in one day. I just don't think it's feasible for them to be able to build a relationship when they know they got to leave in 20 minutes or 30
Right.
minutes. Or so I think, and again, talking with Sean and saying, hey, how can we look at National Night Out? It's going to be possibly in October this year.
Mhm.
Again, COVID, but maybe we can talk about that. Could they have 2 or 3 days and go to 2 or 3 neighborhoods, but spend more time, more quality time?
Exactly.
We play
Exactly.
kickball.
Yeah.
We have intentional things because I already know from the community, we have to kind of push them together.
Yeah, the firemen are great. They come and they have the kids to go in the fire.
Yeah.
They give them the hats and the little things, and they talk
Mhm.
about being a fireman. A lot of these kids have not seen black policemen.
I
Black,
agree. I wish more were lunch buddies and
Yeah.
homework helpers. Yeah, so they can go into the school instead of
Exactly.
just the SRO being the cop you have the relationship with.
right?
Like, yeah. So
So,
again,
and especially
finding
since most of them, I understand, are not even from the area.
exactly. Yeah, maybe
Area. How
Yeah.
can they learn in your community if they're not in the area or,
I
know
agree.
about families or anything?
yeah, unless you partake in Teen Leadership Troy, which is a small amount of our kids,
Right.
you don't get that overall community injunction. I feel like there should be a Citizen Troy class or something for everyone. And maybe it's first the at-risk people that basically if we don't push you together, you may never be, or it would be an unhealthy. So we get ahead of it and introduce police and fire. The fire chief has a consolidated program to get people in, and he needs help getting his program recognized by the schools and by the community. They don't realize they could be a firefighter in less than 3 years. So
Right.
that's something, I was saving that for the employment team, but there are ways. You're right.
I think the other thing that, I hope everybody is very understanding of as well. I think just like a lot of minorities are afraid of cops. I think that now in this climate, I think a lot of cops are afraid of minorities.
Yes.
You're right.
And I say that because, so my father's a Vietnam vet, very bad, he has very bad post-traumatic stress disorder. It's horrible. And if you look at what cops deal with, they deal with the worst of the worst every single day. That has to do something to them. So it made my heart break hearing you say that the cops didn't interact with the kids.
Yeah.
I'm sure that plays a part in it. And so my point is, do we know that the police officers are being seen for post-traumatic stress disorder? Are they
They need more.
seen for any type of mental stresses that they're going through? Are they taking drug tests after a violent, I guess, interaction with, a civilian of any sort, right, where they have to arrest someone and use force? So are those things happening? I think that's a good, fair question to ask.
I agree, Marvin.
Are
One of
they
the
allowed to take
officers in the
vacation?
That would probably be the employment committee.
yeah.
That
One
was
of the
important.
officers in the training said, I order my groceries because I'm afraid to see the people that I arrested. Like they're afraid to just go to Walmart and be normal and live a life. And it really resonated with me and kind of broke my heart. Like they're afraid to do their job. We're good people. We all should be a little nervous, right? Like
Right.
if you're afraid to do your job, if you're afraid to reach out or to even raise your hand and make a comment in a training, yeah. And they also realized as much PTSD and trauma that poverty has, guess who's there every day with them? The police. They're
Yeah.
taking it home. So as much as we need mental health, they saw they need it just as much.
Yeah.
So again, that commonality that we're both in this neighborhood dealing with things, but you go home and we're here, but the impact of you even getting a piece of my life, they both need mental health help. So I think, Marvin, you hit it perfectly.
So should we get through this list and see what we should add to ours? You guys all have this in your packet?
It's the ATW, right?
The initiative submitted by HRC Commission.
First one. This one.
Yes, that one, and then we should have 3 additional pages
Yeah.
behind it. Sorry, it's so long. It's been crazy. I'm sorry, let me put my mask back on. How much time do we have?
I had the Zoom meeting scheduled for hour and a half.
Hour and a half, okay. So we have another 25 minutes. All right, so should we start with the first page? The initiative submitted by HRC Commission. I guess we could just work down and anything falls into the community relations.
I would say G, social services structure, programming and outreach efforts.
Okay. Municipal account employees, procedures and practices, that would fall under that.
Would it?
That we're talking about
Jay?
trying to get things passed through the city council, right? So,
Oh, she's trying to hear you.
oh, sorry.
You're fine. Tell me the number or the letter that you're on.
G and H.
Okay. I was thinking that J.
I was thinking J. That's what I was thinking. O,
Yeah.
P.
Maybe P might be relevant, if we want to highlight and help recruitment of groups.
Should we just add
D.
P and V together?
Yeah.
E, D.
Yeah. Same thing.
Mhm.
Well, I guess not the same thing, but close. That's it.
Well, what about A, T, what housing? Would that be a part of community? Can you elaborate on housing?
I don't know who put that on there, so I'm not sure what they meant just by housing. Like, is it fair housing practices? Is it a demographic? I don't know.
Kane put that housing, and I think he meant accessible.
Accessible housing?
Yes. Which can go to employment challenges too, because one of the challenges with employment could be affordable housing. So
Now, maybe, I don't know. You don't have. No, I think she's right. Sorry, I'm talking out loud and I keep forgetting you can hear everything I'm saying.
We heard you.
And you're thinking too. How about K, no?
Yeah.
Would that hit with ours?
Yeah, those are probably run across all
Yeah,
the groups, I'd assume.
that's relevant.
That falls right in there. Oh, and
Mhm.
yeah, if that makes sense.
Salome, did you make a Zoom account for me? I haven't got kicked out yet.
She has an hour and a half.
Oh, an hour and a half. Okay. I thought it was like,
no, yesterday I had to use personal account.
oh, got
That's
you.
why we had only 40 minutes.
Got you.
Today, We have four. Yes.
I was like, you can use mine if you need to.
You can use mine as well if you need to. I have it for Partners in Hope. So you can do, I think, as long as you want on ours too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
We
no
didn't
worries.
have time because we had to change it so we could give you the information and to media.
Yeah, understandable. I was gonna joke with I don't know who's running the Zoom tonight, but thank you yesterday. I like fresh from the beach looking crazy. And I turned my camera on and it didn't click to me. And when it went off, I said, oh Jesus, because I saw my reflection in my phone. So thank you to who's ever running Zoom.
It's Salome.
Oh, see, you're awesome. We might take her to Partners in Hope. Watch out, guys. She's
No.
I guess M would also fall under that as well.
what number or letter?
M as in Marvin.
Okay.
Not Marvin, Marvin,
Said
Marvin.
maybe.
That's
In the
okay.
military, we just go by list.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, don't push it.
No. So can we all agree on M, or do you guys think it should be somewhere else?
What about W?
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
Don't want to close the door.
All right, I'm going over to Troy Government now. This page. Yeah, so you have the
Okay.
initiative submitted by the chair.
By the mayor.
Major, yeah, major. I like when you say my name. Budget for social programs for the city of Troy. I think that will be under community relations, right? Because we're trying to pair.
Or would that be education and outreach?
Well, yeah, maybe, yes, you're right. That would be education. Thank you. You know.
I think wellness would be,
Yeah, a lot of the wellness. I
Yeah.
was thinking the same thing.
Where's that? Oh, done. Okay.
yeah. I think wellness would be a part of community relations.
Yes. Community involvement programs, that's back up. And
You're talking about the heading wellness on the backside, or are you on the second page?
you're at the bottom, right? Down here.
I am looking at another document, but
Oh.
I didn't find that.
I
Are you
think
talking
she's
about
on the
this?
I
second
thought you
page.
were talking about Mr. Owens.
She's talking about this, correct?
Okay, well, that falls under the, I got you.
So you're here, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you're there. Okay.
These are not numbered. These are numbered.
Yeah, sorry. Page 1 would have the title on it. Page 2 would have wellness, education, social. And page 3 would be a.
Yeah.
Sure. Sorry. I don't have a secretary.
It's the easy thing. You don't need a secretary.
Contrary.
What about social?
Social aid program.
Underneath the wellness.
Underneath wellness, nonprofits that can help communities, legal aid,
Yeah, those
they
are
all
all.
fall under community.
What document are you guys going through right now?
We are going through, it says initiative submitted by Chairman Major.
It's okay. I trust y'all. I'm looking for it. I don't think
It's in one of those emails.
I just had the initial one.
If you have Mr. Major's handout, those are 5, 6, and 7, pages 5, 6, and 7.
Thank you, Solomon. I think I might have that right one. Or it's something you sent out while I've been on vacation.
No, we had it at the
No.
last meeting.
Okay, I have it here. I have everything here. I'll find it.
So do we think the social, that should fall under? I mean, what are we,
There's, yeah, I think that so there's a lot under social that will fall under.
There's some that, like the housing, there's some others that I would pull out of there, but
mhm.
the majority of them, yeah.
Programs for minority and lower income community members, nonprofits that can be used, both of those. Legal aid, remove race identifiers, that would be a city council thing. Financial aid, housing programs, drug rehabilitation. I think a lot of these are mental health therapy facilities options. Yeah, these are all a lot of them.
Did we do the, stereotype thing on wellness dress?
We picked the whole thing.
Did you do the whole?
Yeah.
The same, I think this is for social too. So we could pick and choose some of the items.
You can't do it. I think that somebody should go somewhere else.
Well, with my last weekend, I was thinking, like the educational tutor after school, would that fall under education?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, it's kind of both though, right?
yeah, it
It will
is.
fall under
Those
both.
are one of those that's gonna be,
It is community outreach.
And I know that they have that at like I think most schools have it, but they also have it at like the Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
Kids can go there and tutor.
They even picked them up, us.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that would definitely be.
And they, go through the teachers. They are affiliated with, I know Haywood, Kyle. I don't know the other schools that they're affiliated with, and they give them a list of the kids. And then they actually go and pick them up. They
Van
give them
Cleve does it.
snack. Van Cleve too, okay. And they give them snacks. And they have tutors. Most of them are ex-teachers that do most of the
just in the bus when I go pick my son up.
So if you have it, because the education and outreach committee, that would fall a part of that committee, doing that
Mhm.
for all.
Yeah.
Marvin, for where there's prorated court fines, could we also add in lieu of conviction for that? I mean, it's simply a first-time felon. It's popular in bigger cities where people make a mistake and they're not, thrown out. They actually get a chance and do a diversion program of sorts. I don't know how much we do of that here to help people.
Noted.
Could be the law.
I think again. I'm sorry, what was
No, if you're gonna be the law professor.
that? No.
May I add something?
Yeah. It's-
Transportation system, cost and availability, that could fall under employment challenges committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the last sentence talks about job opportunities and housing and public accommodations.
And prorated court fines might fall under that as well. I probably shouldn't laugh at that, but
Does, in truth, I think
Yeah.
it does. I think
So-
prorated court fines, community service diversion,
Yeah.
and in lieu of conviction all impacts employment. Once you're a felon, you can't get a job, barely.
so tutors going under education. So are we saying that all under social on the first page?
Mhm.
That's all under this subcommittee?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you said the bottom two on the last page?
The bottom three should go under employment
Oh,
challenges.
Transportation too.
Yeah.
You said
Okay, so we just need to add all these in. Did you all find any from law enforcement that need to be under community relations?
I think the neighborhood watch groups, they're community groups, right? They would be able to interact with us. We can make sure that they're, where are those groups? Are they only in affluent areas? Do we need them in other areas?
I think we've already addressed a couple of these with the different
Yesterday.
thought process.
Yeah. The one community involvement program.
Right. Yeah. Also work with social aid programs. I think we discussed that. I'll scratch through that. Body cameras we discussed yesterday.
Yes, because
Oh,
I
sorry.
can only see her ear.
We
Here, I'm trying to put my ear closer to
sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
speaking with my face toward the
Yeah.
table.
No worries. We'll get through this. It's all good.
So under that law enforcement, it says clear and firm guidelines on hate crime. Is that something, being that we've been talking about that?
I think that's what we're gonna put before the council.
Oh, before the council? and-
Yeah, so I'll write all that language up and I'll let you guys see it by Monday. So we'll scratch through that.
So I think that's the HRC commission as a whole instead of the smaller bodies.
Maybe,
right?
yeah.
And come out of a smaller, we can come out of this, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think once we get discussion, I'll go before the whole group.
Yes.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Healthcare, should we look at that? I'm sorry, I'm jumping. But if you look under, on page 3 at the bottom,
Well, definitely.
I think that's what,
Employment? No.
I think, I mean, if we're looking at what was written, then we'll go under education and outreach committee, federal, state, and city agencies, right? So allowing people to have access to healthcare, safe care practices.
We're talking about healthcare, access to healthcare,
Right.
practices, medication access, and checks and balances.
Thank
Where
you.
does that fall under community or another?
Does the preventative aspects of it fall under perhaps social, and maybe the other might fall in other areas?
what about the one who turned to for health advocates and those asking for help? Would that be us?
Yes, that's definitely community relations.
For that. Right at the top, second one.
This is
Oh, yeah.
This might go across a couple because it's so huge.
What about the food pantry? Would that be us?
That's a
Yes,
community.
that's definitely, I think all of them are except the last 3.
I think Troy's pretty good on that. I know Richard Chapel does. I cook twice a month. So I do.
Yeah, I feel like some of it is
We have
social.
2 minutes left.
2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Let me say my 2-minute
Yes,
piece.
tourism.
Perhaps some of this healthcare, I'm reminded of the 3 children that died from carbon monoxide, the Fly High girls in my neighborhood. That's why I say it's part community. If you don't understand and don't have access to smoke detectors, health, things like that, we're dying. And then there's also that how it impacts your employment as well. Mental health services, our RTI has been disenfranchised to anyone can work there now. So even what little resources they have for employment are being depleted as well. So I do think that it falls in 2 areas, and you guys are doing a phenomenal job. Proud of y'all. Y'all will rock the rest of that meeting out, I'm sure. So thanks for putting up with me. 2 more days, Salome, and I won't be a thorn in your side. I'm sorry.
I think this is a good meeting. They're extremely productive.
Yeah.
I felt bad yesterday after that.
Yeah.
meeting. Felt like we just got derailed and didn't. I think it was.
Oh, I think we're learning, and starting
I
something
need to
new.
type
is
this
not
up.
easy.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. So am I, before I click off, is Trey a part of this team, or did he
Yes, he
decide
is.
not to be?
He
Yes,
is
he is.
Okay.
So the next meeting, or it says future business and next meeting. So I think
I think we covered that.
so when
But
is
not
the next meeting?
It's up to everybody here. I'm flexible. As long as it's after or after 5:30, I'm good.
Any day but Tuesday, you got me.
We start playing in 3 weeks.
That's if you continue to play.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying,
Gotcha.
my contract with the school has me saying I'm to prepare these kids to start in 3 weeks.
So
Yeah.
are we gonna be on a bi-weekly schedule or? Cause if it's bi-weekly, then it'd be the 26th,
We have our group meeting on the 20th.
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 I'm okay to meet the 26th.
26 works for me.
26th of August.
I heard 26. That's 6.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Yeah, I should be good because our first game technically it's going to actually be on the 25th if we have it.
Can we tentatively say that we'll meet here at 6
6.
o'clock?
Or are you going to meet at Partners in Hope? Because I know Sonia had said something about meeting at Partners in Hope also.
Can
Okay.
we have Partners in Hope?
Can we meet at
We
your
can be
place?
partners in hope. Yep, we're good.
All right.
26th of August.
Yep, 26 at 6 o'clock, Partners in Hope. Salome, I assume you got to get in a little bit early for technology.
Or do
Wait,
You have to Zoom it and all that. Do you need to set up?
you have Zoom capability at your facility?
I've never, I mean, I do it on my laptop. Is that good
Yeah.
enough? Okay, yeah. Then never mind. I'm cool.
She's cool with it, huh?
She's cool person.
That's
Cool,
cool.
that means she can help.
Okay.
And can I have the address, please?
180 East Race Street.
RACE.
Yep.
Over near the fire station.
Okay.
Right behind the post office. Big blue, beautiful new building.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
I move to adjourn.
What do you
Yay.
Second.
We're both seconds.
We're done.
See ya.
Bye. Have a good
Have a happy
night.
vacation.
That's fine.
Say.
Thank you.
It's just another meeting.
On Monday.
Yeah, Monday's meeting is at the